Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, everybody in Cyberland. It's your favorite Babala. At least I hope so. Omo Obatala coming to you with a sequel for the Help Me Help You. Or, better yet, me playing catch up. So before we start, please hit subscribe, like, share. If you like what you see, please do so if you do like what you see. So for today, I would like to focus on a sign called Osa Okana. And Omo Obatala is the one that's coming out in this sign. There's a lot to do in this sign with Osakana that I had a very hard time on how I want to formulate and how I want to best advise a son or daughter of Osakana. So the first thing I tell Osakana is that no matter what, how high you get, you can fall even harder, right? Because no matter how high you get, the higher you get, right? If you had a balloon and that's what was taking you high, and I pop that balloon, that fall can hurt. And it talks about that in Osakana in many different sections of Pataki, okay? And particularly when we talk about greed, I talk about more on the side of knowledge, more on the side of arrogance, more on the side of wanting to be the center of attention. Osa Okana has to be very, very weary of the aspects of what it is to respect an elder, number one. Number two, remember the first thing I said. The higher you go, the harder you fall. All right? And also understanding that in Osakana, we talk about the losses. Because in Osakana, there has a lot to do in this sign with Odudua, a lot to do with Oru, which I don't talk about often, Osai, Olokun, and Orumila. Because in that aspects of things, Osakana has a huge presence of things to come. Osakana is the creation of something. Osakana specifically talks about the creation of like the sewing machine and the car, machinery, things that help mankind go. But more importantly, I want to kind of peel that back just a little bit because I want to organize myself for Osakana because there's so much in Osakana that I don't think I can cover it all. I would have to take all my books and all my literature, everything that I know, and I need to organize it, write it down, talking points, because there's just so much for Osakana. So if I was a tablero and I'm talking Osakana, right, and I'm marking and we talk about it as an elder, the first thing I would say is remember who you are. Remember how you got to where you're at. Because at the end of the day, all man is created with strengths and weaknesses. Well, your strength would always be the knowledge that you have. In Osa Okana, we got to be careful that the wind does not take you to the point where you lose your mind. You got to remember, in Osakana, you got to remember that you have to have a pact with Iku. No ifs, ands, or buts. In Osakana, you have to receive Odudua, you got to receive Orun, so that you can align yourself. But not only that, then you also need to receive Osain, because Osakana even talks about when Osain gave the power to the herbs and consecrated the herbs for the first time. And think of how important herbs are in our religion, in our faith. Osakana deals with so much that it's almost unnerving. But Osakana, because we talk about be careful about losing your head, we talk about don't be greedy, Be careful. I like to use the analogy of, the higher you go, the harder you fall, because we talk about things going in the air. And it talks about the Bataki of Chango, Oya, and the son of Chango that particularly, disobeyed Olofi's orders, and Iku took him. He died. But the guy was awesome. The guy was an Oba, Oriate. He was freaking running ceremonies. He was hand in hand with Oya. I mean, they were doing all types of things without me getting too much into the Bataki. But it was his arrogance. It was his arrogance that really, really put him apart. And it mainly had to do with Oya. Now, the Pataki refers to Oya as a female and a son of Chango. So particularly, we want to be careful about a few things. We want to be careful that you respect females, number one. Number two, Osakana, you want to also respect the cemeteries. You should be giving offerings to the cemetery, the gate of the cemeteries, often. Oya deserves it. In this sign, you need to constantly be pulling on that energy, and you constantly need to be doing a lot for Oya. You got to do it. You got to do it. In this sign, I already mentioned that you have to have a pact with Iku. Right? And particularly because in Osakana, this is where you have to respect the elders, because if you don't, you can die yourself. If you play your cards wrong, you can die yourself. If you are too greedy, you can die yourself. So Osakana is very unforgiving. Osakana, you're not gonna get just the typical, I'm gonna have some osolbu, I'm gonna have some bad luck here and there. Osakana comes with a vengeance. So I warn people with Osakana. I do. And I tell them, I say, hey, I hate to tell you, with this sign, this is one of those where your spiritual journey is going to have to be accelerated, but for good reasons. Because I just told you, everything in Osakana comes with death. So we go quick. We go quick. We tell the person, if, let's say they can't get Ocha, they can't get crown, then what we do is we immediately give them the power of Ifa through different divinities, right? We start getting them on Dudua, through a Babalao. We give them a Olokun, we give them Orun, we give them a sign. But at the end of the day, we start to maneuver pretty quick with Osakana. Right? More importantly, Osakana is probably one of the few signs where I get a little worried, because we talk about the pack of Iku, that in Osakana, I can almost be convinced to get somebody from Awofaka to go straight to Ifa. And typically, that's not my MO. That's not my motives. I like people to go through the path of Ocha, learn, talk to the divinities on the Ocha side. Make sure you hear what they got to say. Everybody has great things to say. Everybody has taboos, and boom, then you can move on to Ifa. You can move into a universal type status of understanding, because Osakana is this is an Ifa of knowledge, but it also speaks about the weakness. So in Osakana, there's a lot to dissect. In Osakana, you also have to learn to be patient. Osakana, because you can lose your head, you typically get a little bit more worked up than the average. You probably, within your inner circle, you're probably the little bit of the, not high-headed, but you're real quick to talk or jump or say something. Always got to come back. I don't know what it is, but you have that quickness to you, right? Because you're not all centered, right? So Osakana, you got to be very careful about that. Also in Osakana, I mentioned the ebos you do in the cemetery for to kind of calm down some of that rage, some of that airness. That, how you call people airheads because they get real bubbly sometimes. Osakana, we need to reinforce some things so that we can bring you back down, so that way you're not so blind to reality sometimes. Maybe that's a good way to put it. In Osakana, because we're constantly fighting such a strong divinity like Iku from taking us, right? We had to constantly be giving out the moves to the orishas. You can't stop, man. You're constantly jobbing. Osakana's got a job. You got a job like the moves. You got a job there, both. That's why you have to do and receive so many powerful divinities like Odudu, Olokun, Oro, Osai. I'm telling you right now, it's a list. It's a long list. But those things can they can add up pretty quick, and I feel you. Not everybody's prepared to be like, okay, give it to me all because I'm not trying to die. I'm not trying to get sick. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to do. The other thing is, Osakana, you gotta remember when I said in other videos that women are very respected and cherished in this religion. So Osakana, I already told you, you have death behind you. So therefore, we don't wanna, shake that tree too much. So you need to respect your mother. If you have a problem with your mother, you need to cut everything out and get back on her good graces. She's your savior. She's your savior. In this sign for women, remember I told you that Iku is behind you. And with Iku comes the thoughts of not thinking straight, like I told you earlier. Women, you cannot have abortions in this sign. The moment you do, you call on Iku himself, and he's going to take you to. Maybe not immediately, but little by little, you're going to feel that wrath, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful. But there's a lot of obstacles in your path. You're going to receive a locum for stability and health. You're going to receive Orung and Odua to truly solidify the pact with Iku. You're going to receive Osain because in your sign talks Osain and how he gave the power of the herbs so the herbs can work for you. And if you have the possibility, you're going to go to Ifa. You're going to go to Ifa. I promise you that. If you don't have that advice, you probably need it, and you probably need to take some deep considerations. And if you can, you will be one of the very few people, Osakana, okay, with Obatala, if you could, I would actually guide you like this. Boom, mano de orula, Osakana, we're looking at it like, oh crap. I will get you Oro immediately so that we can calm down Iku. Right after I'm done calming down Iku, I want you to go straight to Ocha. I want you to get crowned. Right after you're done getting crowned, then I want you to receive your locum while you get crowned, and then I want you to immediately go into Ifa. After you're done with Ifa, I want you to get your Osain and your Cuchillo. Then I want you to go ahead and get your Obatala. You're gonna get your Ori to keep your head level. Then we're gonna get then you get your Dodua, and then you get your Lofin, Borosakana. You gotta get everything, my friend. Osakana is a very strong sign. We want to keep you safe. We want to keep you alive. But more importantly, we know that you can do great for the community. Osakana, if I have knowledge, and you can do really great. You really could. So, hopefully that helps you, because in Omo Obatala, I cannot say it anymore. You have a lot of eguns, Iku, Oya, right? We talk about Orun. We talk about a lot of these entities, even Osain being the Brujo and the Brujos. Witchcraft galore. He is the master of it all. Okay? You have a lot of things of that nature. It is no wonder that it takes an Omo Obatala to kind of make sure that they gravitate with you. So you need Obatala. You should get crowned Obatala. You particularly are going to have those vices calling you that you cannot do. You're hijo de Obatala. Understand the vices of Obatala so that Obatala can help you in Osakana, because you're going to need him more than ever. So with that said, hopefully you found that informative. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland. Again, give me the subscribe, the like, the share, and boom. Hope you enjoyed it. It was my pleasure. Great sign. I love talking about Osakana. So much is up here. Okay. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland.